You know, there comes a time in every man's life when the noise fades, the crowd disappears, and all that remains is the echo of your own footsteps. The applause stops, the support ends, and the hands that once lifted you suddenly vanish. And in that silence, you begin to hear the truth that greatness is not born in company, it is born in solitude. I started alone, I failed alone, and I will win alone. These are not just words, they are the declaration of a soul that refused to surrender when nobody was watching. You see, most people love the idea of success, but they hate the journey that success demands. They crave the victory, but they despise the isolation that forges it. Yet the truth is, every destiny begins in private. Before you are celebrated publicly, you must be refined privately. When I started, no one believed in me. No one understood the fire that burned inside my chest. I would talk about my dreams and people would laugh. I would share my vision and they would call it impossible. But I learned something powerful, that when God gives you an assignment, He doesn't send a committee to approve it. He gives it to you alone because it is your journey, your lesson, your victory. I failed alone. And that failure was not my enemy, it was my teacher. I remember the nights of disappointment, the days of rejection, the moments when I questioned everything. I cried in silence, I doubted myself. I almost gave up. But failure taught me who I really was. It stripped me of pride, of dependence, of false expectations. It introduced me to myself. Failure is not the end, it is the mirror that shows you what still needs to grow inside of you. And I realized I was not losing. I was learning. I was not being destroyed. I was being developed. Sometimes God hides you in failure because He is preparing the strength you'll need for success. And now I will win alone. Not because I have all the answers, not because I am perfect, but because I have learned how to stand when there is nothing left to lean on. Victory belongs to those who have mastered solitude. If you can walk alone and not lose direction, you are unstoppable. People will see your success and think it came easy. They won't know the tears, the loneliness, the nights you spoke to yourself just to keep going. But that's the beauty of private struggle. It builds a foundation so strong that no public storm can shake it. So, to anyone listening right now who feels forgotten, unseen, or unsupported, let me tell you this, you are not behind, you are being built. The process you are in is not punishment, it is preparation. Solitude is not rejection, it is refinement. Remember, diamonds are formed under pressure, not in comfort. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface. So when you are alone, don't curse the season, embrace it. For it is in your isolation that your revelation is born. One day, those who doubted you will witness what perseverance looks like. Those who walked away will watch you rise from the same ground they left you on. And when that day comes, don't shout with pride. Smile with peace. Because you'll know you didn't need them to win. You just needed faith, consistency, and courage. I started alone, I failed alone, and I will win alone. Because my destiny was never designed to be built by committee. It was written by conviction. So keep walking even when the road is empty. Keep believing even when no one claps. And keep building even when no one understands. Because the moment you accept that you were born to walk your path alone, the universe will begin to align with your purpose. And when you finally win, you'll look back and realize every tear, every failure, every lonely night was not breaking you, it was building you into the person capable of holding the victory you were destined for. You know, there comes a time in every man's life when the noise fades, the crowd disappears, and all that remains is the echo of your own footsteps. The applause stops, the support ends, and the hands that once lifted you suddenly vanish. And in that silence, you begin to hear the truth, that greatness is not born in company, it is born in solitude. I started alone, I failed alone, and I will win alone. These are not just words, they are the declaration of a soul that refused to surrender when nobody was watching. You see, most people love the idea of success, but they hate the journey that success demands. They crave the victory, but they despise the isolation that forges it. Yet the truth is, every destiny begins in private. Before you are celebrated publicly, you must be refined privately. When I started, no one believed in me. No one understood the fire that burned inside my chest. I would talk about my dreams and people would laugh. I would share my vision and they would call it impossible. But I learned something powerful, that when God gives you an assignment, He doesn't send a committee to approve it. He gives it to you alone because it is your journey, your lesson, your victory. I failed alone. And that failure, it was not my enemy, it was my teacher. I remember the nights of disappointment, the days of rejection, the moments when I questioned everything. I cried in silence. I doubted myself. I almost gave up. But failure taught me who I really was. It stripped me of pride, of dependence, of false expectations. It introduced me to myself. Failure is not the end. It is the mirror that shows you what still needs to grow inside of you. And I realized I was not losing. I was learning. I was not being destroyed. I was being developed. Sometimes God hides you in failure because He is preparing the strength you'll need for success. And now, I will win alone. Not because I have all the answers, not because I am perfect, but because I have learned how to stand when there is nothing left to lean on. Victory belongs to those who have mastered solitude. If you can walk alone and not lose direction, you are unstoppable. People will see your success and think it came easy. They won't know the tears, the loneliness, the nights you spoke to yourself just to keep going. But that's the beauty of private struggle. It builds a foundation so strong that no public storm can shake it. So, to anyone listening right now who feels forgotten, unseen, or unsupported, let me tell you this: you are not behind, you are being built. The process you are in is not punishment, it is preparation. Solitude is not rejection, it is refinement. Remember, diamonds are formed under pressure, not in comfort. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface. So when you are alone, don't curse the season, embrace it. For it is in your isolation that your revelation is born. One day, those who doubted you will witness what perseverance looks like. Those who walked away will watch you rise from the same ground they left you on. And when that day comes, don't shout with pride. Smile with peace. Because you'll know you didn't need them to win. You just needed faith, consistency, and courage. I started alone, I failed alone, and I will win alone. Because my destiny was never designed to be built by committee. It was written by conviction. So, keep walking even when the road is empty. Keep believing even when no one claps. And keep building even when no one understands. Because the moment you accept that you were born to walk your path alone, the universe will begin to align with your purpose. And when you finally win, you'll look back and realize every tear, every failure, every lonely night was not breaking you. It was building you into the person capable of holding the victory you were destined for. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the birthplace of self-discovery. When you are alone, the world becomes quiet enough for you to finally hear yourself. Most people fear being alone because they confuse it with being forgotten. But solitude is not punishment. It is preparation. Loneliness is when you crave company, but solitude is when you discover the power of your own presence. Every great thinker, every visionary, every leader had to walk through seasons of solitude before they found their voice. It is in that quiet space that you begin to peel away the layers of who the world told you to be and rediscover who you truly are. Think about it. When the phone stops ringing, when the friends stop calling, when the noise dies down, you start to notice things you couldn't before. You begin to see what truly matters. You realize that the people you thought you needed were only temporary chapters in a book that is still being written. You begin to understand that peace is not found in crowds, but in clarity, and clarity is born in silence. Solitude gives you that silence. Many people live their entire lives surrounded by noise, by distractions, by validation from others. They can't even sit alone in a room without reaching for a screen or scrolling through someone else's life. They fear silence because silence reveals truth. It forces you to confront your thoughts, your fears, your flaws, your dreams. But the moment you stop running from silence and start embracing it, something changes within you. You begin to grow. I remember hearing a story about a young man who lost his job and felt completely abandoned. He said for months he couldn't sleep at night because he felt like a failure. One night, he took a walk alone under the stars, and for the first time, instead of asking why me, he asked what now. That simple question changed his life. He started using his quiet nights to think, to plan, to learn. He discovered that being alone gave him time to rebuild himself. Within 2 years, he started his own business. He told me, it was in the silence that I found my strength. You see, solitude gives you a mirror that the world can't provide. It shows you who you are without titles, without followers, without applause. It teaches you how to love your own company, how to find comfort in your own thoughts. The strongest people you will ever meet are not those who always have someone beside them, but those who learn to walk alone without losing their direction. When you spend time in solitude, you start to understand your patterns. You begin to ask yourself, Why do I react that way? Why do I feel this fear? Why do I chase what doesn't serve me? Solitude doesn't just expose you, it heals you. It gives you the space to change without judgment. And the beauty of solitude is that it doesn't require permission. You don't need anyone's approval to be still, to think, to grow. Look at the trees in a forest. The strongest ones grow deep roots not when the sun is shining, but when they are alone, hidden under the soil, reaching for water that no one sees. That's what solitude does for the human spirit. It helps you dig deep, strengthen your roots, and prepare for the storms that will come. If you skip that process, you grow tall without depth, and the first strong wind will break you. But if you allow solitude to shape you, no storm can uproot you. In everyday life, solitude can look simple. Waking up early before the world begins and spending 10 quiet minutes thinking about your goals. Taking a walk without headphones, just listening to your thoughts. Sitting in a cafe without checking your phone, watching people, observing life. These are small, ordinary moments, but they shape extraordinary people. Because when you learn to be comfortable with yourself, you no longer chase people or situations to fill your emptiness. Most people think success means being surrounded by people, attention, and recognition. But the truth is, real success starts when you are at peace with being unseen. The best decisions are made in solitude. The best visions are born in solitude. When you learn to be alone and happy, you become unshakable. You stop depending on the world to tell you who you are. And that's when you truly become powerful. I've seen people chase relationships, crowds, and attention only to lose themselves in the process. They try to escape solitude because they think it's emptiness, but they end up becoming empty inside because they never took the time to sit still and find themselves. The irony of life is that you can be surrounded by 100 people and still feel lonely, yet you can be completely alone and feel full. Fullness doesn't come from company, it comes from connection. Connection with your own soul. If you want to discover purpose, you must be willing to walk alone for a while. Because purpose doesn't shout in a crowd, it whispers in stillness. You won't hear it when you're distracted by the noise of opinions, trends, or validation. It speaks in the quiet moments when you are honest with yourself. That's where you find direction. That's where you find peace. So learn to embrace solitude. Let it refine your thoughts, strengthen your character, and sharpen your vision. Don't run from it. Use it. Solitude is the invisible classroom of wisdom, the silent workshop where dreams are shaped and where self-worth is reborn. It's not the end of connection, it's the beginning of understanding. When you finally make peace with being alone, you realize you were never truly alone. You were just being introduced to the person you were meant to become. Failure is not final, it is the classroom of greatness. Every person who has ever achieved something remarkable has walked through the doors of failure first. Failure is not there to destroy you, it is there to instruct you. It is not a wall, it is a mirror, reflecting what needs to be refined. Most people fear failure because they think it marks the end of their story. But the truth is, failure is only a comma, never a full stop. It is a pause in the sentence of your life that allows you to breathe, learn, and start again with more wisdom than before. When you fail, it doesn't mean you are not capable. It means you are trying. And trying is the beginning of every transformation. Failure introduces you to lessons that success could never teach you. When you fall, you start seeing what was unseen while you were running. You start paying attention to the details that really matter. Failure slows you down not to punish you, but to prepare you. Think about a child learning to walk. He stumbles, he falls, he cries, but then he stands up again. No one calls him a failure. They smile because they know every fall is progress. That's how life works too. Every failure moves you closer to balance, closer to strength, closer to confidence. We grow through the falls, not through the comfort of standing still. Look at every inventor, every entrepreneur, every artist you admire. They all have a chapter that nobody talks about. The chapter of failure. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. When someone asked him how it felt to fail so many times, he replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." That is the mindset of greatness. They don't see failure as defeat, they see it as data. Each mistake becomes a message, each setback becomes a strategy. Failure tests your commitment. Everyone loves the idea of success, but only a few are willing to fail for it. Failure separates the dreamers from the doers. It asks you, how badly do you want it? Are you willing to keep going when the applause stops? Are you willing to rebuild when everything falls apart? That's where true champions are born, not in their victories, but in their recoveries. I remember hearing about a man who opened a small restaurant that failed miserably within 6 months. He lost his savings, his confidence, and his friends stopped calling. But instead of quitting, he decided to learn why it failed. He worked in other restaurants, studied customer habits, improved his recipes, and learned the business side of things. After years of trying again and again, he opened another restaurant. This time it became a sensation. He said something powerful. My first failure didn't break me, it trained me. That's what failure does. It trains you for the victory you are meant to handle. In daily life, failure appears in small ways. You try to wake up early but hit the snooze button. You plan your goals but lose focus after a week. You start a project but get distracted halfway. Each of these moments is not the end. It's an invitation to discipline yourself. Failure whispers, try again, but this time wiser. Every time you fail, you gather information about yourself, your weaknesses, your distractions, your limits. And when you know these things, you grow stronger. Sometimes failure hurts not because you lost something, but because it shakes your identity. You start to doubt your worth. You start thinking maybe you're not good enough. But here's the truth. Failure doesn't define who you are. It reveals who you are becoming. The caterpillar must struggle inside the cocoon to become a butterfly. If it avoids that struggle, it never learns to fly. In the same way, failure builds the muscles your success will depend on. Most people quit too early. They let one failure convince them that the dream wasn't meant for them. But greatness is stubborn. It belongs to those who try again even when the world stops believing. The road to success is filled with broken plans, tears, and sleepless nights. But it is also filled with the wisdom of those who refuse to give up. Failure also humbles you. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that talent is not enough without persistence. You may have the gift, but the gift needs grit. And grit is built through struggle, not success. Every time you fail, a part of your ego dies, but your spirit gets stronger. You stop chasing validation and start focusing on growth. You stop trying to look perfect and start trying to become real. That's where transformation happens. In the quiet moments when you rise after falling. Even in relationships, failure teaches lessons. When a friendship breaks, it teaches you boundaries. When love ends, it teaches you self-worth. When trust is broken, it teaches you discernment. Failure is the most honest teacher life can give you. It doesn't flatter you, it shapes you. It doesn't lie to you, it refines you. When you look back years from now, you'll realize your failures were not wasted. They were stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. Each one pushed you closer to clarity, closer to purpose. Some doors closed because you weren't ready to walk through them yet. Failure was never rejection, it was redirection. It was guiding you away from what wasn't meant for you, toward what was designed for you. You must learn to talk to your failures differently. Instead of saying, I lost, start saying, I learned. Instead of saying, it's over, start saying, it's just beginning. Every failure carries a message. And if you listen carefully, you'll realize it's telling you, this is not your end, this is your education. Failure doesn't come to stop you. It comes to strengthen you, to sharpen you, to prepare you for the success that requires a stronger version of you than the one who started. Rejection often reveals divine redirection. Most people see rejection as a dead end, but it's not. It's a detour leading you toward the path that was truly meant for you. Rejection hurts because it touches the part of us that wants to be accepted, seen, validated. Yet, behind every rejection, there is a hidden message whispering, this is not your door. And sometimes, not getting what you wanted is the greatest protection you'll ever receive. Every one of us has faced moments when we gave our best, tried our hardest, and still heard no. Maybe you applied for a job you thought was perfect for you, and they chose someone else. Maybe you loved someone deeply, but they didn't see your worth. Maybe you had a dream that didn't unfold the way you imagined. In those moments, you feel forgotten, unseen, and disappointed. But what you don't see immediately is that the rejection that broke your heart was actually guiding you towards something greater. I remember a young man who wanted to be a musician. He sent his songs to every producer he could find. No one replied. Months went by and he felt like a failure. One night, sitting in his small room, he decided to record music on his own and upload it online. That song went viral. Suddenly, the same people who ignored him were calling him. Later, he said, Their rejection forced me to build something on my own, and that became my breakthrough. Sometimes rejection is God's way of saying, build your own stage instead of begging for a place on someone else's. Rejection teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you how to stand without support, how to believe in yourself when nobody claps. When a door closes, it's easy to get bitter. But bitterness blinds you to the new door that's opening somewhere else. Life is not cruel, it is corrective. It doesn't take things from you without purpose. It redirects you so you can discover what was truly yours all along. Imagine being in an airport waiting for a flight that gets cancelled. You get frustrated, angry, disappointed. You think the delay ruined your plan. But what if that delay saved you from something you didn't see coming? What if that rejection was protection in disguise? Sometimes what looks like a setback is simply life aligning your steps with your true assignment. In relationships, rejection often feels like heartbreak. But later you realize it was healing. Maybe the person who walked away wasn't meant to walk with you into the next season of your life. Maybe they were part of your story, not your destiny. Sometimes people are not rejecting you. They are releasing you to grow, to evolve, to find peace where pain once lived. In daily life, rejection appears in quiet moments. When friends stop calling, when opportunities dry up, when you feel unseen despite your effort. But what if that isolation is not punishment but preparation? Rejection clears your path. It removes distractions, it filters your circle, and it shows you who's truly meant to walk beside you. You can't build a palace with people who are comfortable living in tents. One of the most painful yet powerful things you'll ever experience is being left out of something you thought you deserved. But later, you'll realize you were being positioned for something greater. Think about a seed planted in the ground. It looks buried, forgotten, unseen. But in reality, it's being prepared to rise. Rejection buries you for a season, not to end you, but to grow you. I once met a woman who was rejected from her dream university. She cried for weeks. But because of that rejection, she joined another institution where she met a mentor who changed her life. Years later, she said, "The rejection that made me cry was the best thing that ever happened to me." That's how life works. Rejection today can become revelation tomorrow. Rejection builds resilience. It gives you emotional muscles. It makes you tougher, wiser, and more focused. When you face rejection enough times, you stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. You stop asking people to believe in you and start believing in yourself. Rejection is not an enemy, it's a motivator. It lights a fire inside you that approval could never ignite. Every successful person has a story of rejection that changed everything. Authors whose books were turned down dozens of times before becoming bestsellers. Actors who were told they had no talent before winning awards. Dreamers who were laughed at before they became leaders. The difference is they didn't let rejection define them, they used it to refine them. Sometimes rejection teaches you the power of patience. You might not understand why certain doors close, but if you trust the timing of your life, you'll see how every no was leading you toward the right yes. Some blessings require maturity. Some dreams need more time. Rejection delays what's premature so that when your moment comes, you're ready for it. Rejection also reveals truth. It shows you who really supports you. When you fail, you'll see who disappears and who stays. Rejection removes the noise so you can recognize the genuine voices. Not everyone who claps for you is happy for you. Some only celebrate your comfort zone. But when rejection strips away the fake applause, you begin to hear your own heartbeat louder, and that heartbeat will guide you better than any cheer from the crowd. Rejection reshapes identity. It forces you to redefine your value outside of acceptance. You stop seeking permission to exist. You stop living for approval. You begin to understand that your worth isn't attached to who chooses you, but to who you choose to become. Rejection is painful, but it's also freeing. It detaches you from the need to be chosen and teaches you to choose yourself. When you start seeing rejection through this lens, you stop taking it personally. You realize it's not a loss, it's a lesson. It's not failure, it's formation. And sometimes the door that closed wasn't wrong. It was simply too small for the version of you that's emerging. Rejection redirects you toward alignment with your purpose. Every no is a whisper saying, there's something better waiting, keep walking. Every destiny begins in private before it's celebrated in public. The world loves to celebrate the finished product, the success story, the applause, the recognition, but what the world never sees is the process that took place in the dark. Greatness doesn't start on a stage, it starts in silence. Purpose is not born in public, it is developed in private. In those lonely nights when no one is clapping, in those unseen hours when you are fighting your own doubts, and in those quiet moments when you are learning to believe in yourself before anyone else does. People want the light, but they don't want the labor that builds it. They want the crown, but they don't want the cross that shapes it. Every person you admire today once had a season when nobody knew their name. They were not invited, not recognized, not celebrated. But in that season of obscurity, something powerful was happening. They were being prepared. The spotlight can destroy what solitude has not developed. That's why destiny always begins in private. Think about a seed planted in the ground. When you look at it, it seems buried, lifeless, forgotten. But in that dark soil, it's going through transformation. Roots are forming, strength is building, life is growing. If you dig it up too soon, it will never grow. That's how life works. Your private season is your root season. The growth may be invisible to others, but it's essential for your future. Many people give up because they mistake privacy for punishment. They think being unseen means being unimportant. But privacy is not punishment, it's protection. The reason no one sees you yet is because you are not ready to be seen. You are still being shaped, trained, refined. Every destiny needs time to mature in silence before it can survive in the noise of success. Look at the story of an athlete training before a championship. Every morning before the sun rises, they're out running, sweating, pushing themselves when no one is watching. No cameras, no fans, no cheers. Just discipline and repetition. But that private training is what creates public victory. When they finally step into the spotlight, the crowd only sees the performance. They never see the preparation. It's the unseen effort that builds visible excellence. The same applies in life. You might be working on a dream, a business, a vision, and nobody is noticing. You post your work online and no one reacts. You speak your heart and people ignore you. It hurts, but don't stop. What you are doing now is laying the foundation for what the world will one day celebrate. The silence is sacred. It's where character is built, where patience grows, where integrity is tested. In your private season, you learn things that fame cannot teach you. You learn how to be consistent when nobody encourages you. You learn how to create even when you feel invisible. You learn how to stay humble, how to listen, how to endure. The lessons learned in privacy are what sustain you in public. Without them, success becomes shallow and temporary. There was a woman who dreamed of becoming a writer. For years, she wrote stories that no one read. She sent her manuscripts to publishers who rejected her again and again. She cried alone but never stopped writing. In those years of isolation, she refined her craft. One day, a publisher finally said yes, and her book changed lives around the world. When asked how she kept going, she said, "My private years taught me to love writing, not attention. That is the secret. Fall in love with your process, not the praise." Private seasons teach you authenticity. When you have no audience, you learn to be real. When no one is clapping, you learn to clap for yourself. When no one believes in you, you learn to believe in the dream inside you. The most dangerous kind of success is when you are celebrated before you are ready. The fame becomes your foundation instead of faith, and when storms come, it all collapses. That's why life hides you before it reveals you. In the quiet spaces, you find your voice. In the hidden places, you build your confidence. In the slow seasons, you learn patience. You may feel like nothing is happening, but everything is. Private progress is invisible progress. It's like a tree growing underground. No one sees it, but soon its roots will push through concrete. Sometimes being overlooked is a blessing. If you were promoted before you were prepared, the pressure would crush you. Life is kind enough to let you build in silence until you're strong enough to stand the noise. The greater your destiny, the longer your private season will be. It's not delay, it's design. When a musician practices alone for hours, they're not just learning notes. They're building discipline. When an entrepreneur fails in silence, they're not losing, they're learning. When a student studies late into the night while others sleep, they're not wasting time. They're investing in the future. The effort you put in when no one notices is what will one day make the world notice you. The world may call it obscurity, but destiny calls it preparation. The applause will come later, but the foundation must come first. Don't envy those who seem to have skipped steps. What is built fast often falls fast. What is built slowly, privately, silently, lasts forever. So when you feel invisible, remember, even the sunrise starts in darkness. Your private season is not a mistake. It's your classroom, your cocoon, your training ground. One day, when the time is right, the world will see what was hidden. And when they do, they'll call it destiny. But you'll know it was built in silence, shaped by struggle, and refined in solitude. Your assignment in life is personal. Others can witness it, but not walk it. Every person on this planet has a unique journey, a divine script written only for them. You can be surrounded by people, you can have mentors, friends, and family who love you, but none of them can walk your path for you. They can cheer you on, they can advise you, but the footsteps you take are yours alone. This is one of the hardest truths to accept in life, because we often want company on our climb. We want someone to understand our pain, our passion, our pace. But the truth is, no one will ever fully understand what you carry inside, because it was never given to them, it was given to you. Your assignment is personal. It's tailor-made to your purpose, your character, your strengths, and even your weaknesses. The reason your path feels lonely sometimes is because it is meant to be. It's not punishment, it's personalization. Your life is not a copy of anyone else's, and that's why comparing your path to others will only slow you down. People can walk beside you for a season, but they cannot take your steps. They can see your journey, but they cannot feel your pain or carry your vision. Think about how a fingerprint works. No two are the same. Your calling is like that. It's your personal mark on the world, something no one else can duplicate. Even if someone tried to imitate your style, your ideas, or your dreams, they could never replicate your spirit. And that's what makes your assignment sacred. Many people waste their energy trying to make others understand what they're building. They explain their dreams, defend their plans, seek approval, and end up drained. What they don't realize is that understanding is not a requirement for obedience. You don't need people to understand your assignment. You just need to walk it. When a vision is born inside you, it wasn't sent to a crowd, it was sent to one heart. Yours. In daily life, you see this truth everywhere. A student studies late at night while everyone else sleeps. Nobody claps for their effort, but when results come, everyone notices. A single mother works multiple jobs to provide for her children, and though no one understands her struggle, her sacrifice becomes her legacy. An entrepreneur risks everything for a dream others call foolish, yet years later, those same people call them a genius. Everyone sees the success, but few remember that the journey was walked alone. Walking your assignment means accepting seasons where you will be misunderstood. There will be times when people call you strange, obsessed, unrealistic, or even foolish. But that's the cost of walking a personal path. People who don't see your vision will always question your direction. You must be willing to keep walking even when they don't approve. If they can't see what you see, it's because the vision wasn't given to them. Your assignment might not make sense to others because it wasn't designed to fit their understanding. Sometimes you'll have to make decisions that others can't agree with because they're looking at your life from the outside. They see the surface, but you feel the calling. They see risk, but you sense purpose. And purpose always looks like madness until it manifests. I remember a young man who wanted to leave his stable job to start a community project for underprivileged children. His friends laughed. His parents were disappointed. Everyone told him he was throwing his future away. But deep inside, he knew this was what he was meant to do. He followed his heart, even when no one supported him. Years later, his project changed thousands of lives. The same people who doubted him now praise him. But what they don't realize is that he had to walk the lonely road of obedience before he ever tasted success. That's what walking your assignment looks like. It's lonely, it's risky, but it's real. You can't outsource it. You can't delegate it. You can't expect others to carry it for you. Your assignment is the weight only you were built to lift. And every challenge that comes with it is shaping you into the person capable of fulfilling it. Sometimes you will want to quit. You'll wish someone could walk it for you. But if someone else carried your load, you would lose your lesson. The power of your purpose is not just in the destination, it's in the development that happens along the way. Every mistake, every tear, every sacrifice adds depth to your character and wisdom to your soul. The world will often try to pull you into its rhythm. People will try to convince you to walk their way, chase their dreams led by their timelines. But remember, their path is not your path. Your pace is not their pace. Your assignment may take longer, but it will take you deeper. Sometimes what looks like delay is divine alignment. You are not behind, you are being prepared for something only you can do. Think about a painter working on a masterpiece. People may pass by and see nothing special at first. They might even say it looks messy. But the artist knows what the final picture will look like. That's how your assignment works. Others may see confusion, but you see purpose. They may see struggle, but you see strategy. They may walk away, but you keep walking forward because you know something they don't. There will be people who celebrate you when you win but disappear when you struggle. Don't be angry. Not everyone is meant to walk the whole journey with you. Some were only there to witness the beginning. Others will arrive near the end. What matters is that you keep walking your own path faithfully. In life, some people are watchers and some are walkers. Watchers observe, comment, and critique. Walkers move, build, and grow. Your assignment is not for watchers, it's for walkers. It's for those willing to take risks, to embrace the unknown, and to trust that every step matters. Your assignment will demand focus. It will require you to say no to distractions, no to pleasing everyone, no to comparing yourself. It will force you to find peace in being misunderstood. And that's okay, because every great calling begins with isolation. Before the world recognizes you, you must recognize yourself. Every step of your personal path has a reason, even when it hurts. The lessons, the delays, the losses, they're all shaping your destiny. And though others can stand by and watch, though they can witness your progress or your pain, they can never truly walk it for you. It is your road, your test, your transformation, your purpose. True strength is proven when no one is watching. It's easy to look confident when the crowd is cheering. It's easy to be motivated when everyone claps for you. And it's easy to stand tall when people's eyes are on you. But the real test of strength happens when the lights go out, when no one is there to applaud you, when you're left alone with your doubts, your fears, and your choices. It's in those quiet moments that your true character is revealed. What do you do when there's no recognition, no validation, no one to tell you're doing great? That's where real power lies. Think about the athlete who trains in the dark gym when the rest of the world sleeps. There's no camera, no audience, no music. Just sweat, pain, and discipline. The moment they lift one more rep or run one more mile, even though no one's watching, that's strength. That's what separates the extraordinary from the average. It's not the game day performance that defines them, it's the unseen hours of work that build the performance. True strength is not loud. It doesn't need attention to feel alive. It doesn't need approval to keep going. It's the inner fire that burns quietly when the world doubts you. It's the decision to stay consistent even when results are invisible. It's showing up every single day when you feel unseen and unheard. Because deep down you know your worth isn't tied to recognition. There's a moment in everyone's life when they have to face the silence. When you realize that no one's clapping anymore, that the world has moved on, and you're left standing alone with your purpose. That's when most people quit. That's when the weak fold. But the strong, they dig deeper. They don't need the crowd because they've learned to become their own motivation. They've learned that self-respect is worth more than applause. Imagine a student studying late into the night. Everyone else is out laughing, partying, enjoying life. Their phone buzzes with invitations, but they ignore it. They choose to keep studying, not because anyone will notice, but because they believe in their dream. No one will post about their sacrifice. No one will praise their dedication, but that moment of self-discipline. That's strength. Think about the single parent who wakes up before dawn to prepare breakfast, get the kids ready, and go to work. No one claps for them. No one records their effort. But that persistence, that silent resilience is real strength. It's not in their words, it's in their actions. They fight battles the world will never know, yet they keep moving forward because love drives them stronger than fatigue. There's also that artist, that writer, that dreamer who keeps creating even when no one listens. They pour their heart into their work, and though the world may not notice today, they keep showing up because they believe in what they're doing. They believe that one day their work will speak for itself. That's true strength, the ability to keep believing when evidence is scarce. Real strength is quiet, not loud. It's in the person who forgives instead of seeking revenge. It's in the one who chooses patience over anger, humility over pride, and love over bitterness. The world may not see that, but the soul knows. Real strength is doing the right thing when there's no reward, no spotlight, no recognition, just integrity. Every person faces moments that define them. When you've failed, when you've been betrayed, when you've lost everything. What do you do then? Do you give up, or do you rise silently and rebuild? The strong ones, they rise. Not for show, not for praise, but because they refuse to let life break them. They understand that true power isn't in being seen as strong. It's in surviving what others can't see. It's easy to appear powerful in public, but real strength is being able to hold yourself together in private. It's when you cry at night, wipe your own tears, and still wake up the next morning to try again. It's when your heart is shattered, but you still choose kindness. It's when you're exhausted, but still keep your promises. That's strength. Invisible, silent, but unshakable. The truth is, we live in a world obsessed with attention. People want to be seen, liked, and admired. But the most powerful people you'll ever meet are the ones who don't care about the spotlight. They work in silence, they love in silence, they heal in silence. And when they rise, the world wonders how they did it. They didn't need noise to build themselves. They needed pain, patience, and persistence. The unseen moments are the ones that matter most. When you choose discipline over comfort, when you say no to temptation, when you keep your word even when no one would have known you broke it. That's when you build a character that cannot be shaken. Because what you do in secret builds the strength that carries you in public. The greatest victories are born in private. The athlete's medal is earned in empty gyms. The student's success begins in silent study sessions. The artist's breakthrough starts in lonely nights of creation. The entrepreneur's triumph grows in years of unseen struggle. You can't skip that part. You can't fake it. True strength is earned when no one's watching, and it's that hidden strength that later shines so bright it blinds the world. Real strength doesn't shout, it whispers. It's in the calm after the storm, in the smile after the pain, in the decision to keep going when everything inside you screams to stop. No one may notice the small acts of courage you take daily. Waking up early, forgiving again, staying kind, not quitting. But those are the bricks that build an unbreakable soul. The strongest people you'll ever meet are not the ones who look tough, but the ones who have quietly fought unseen battles and never gave up. They don't post their struggles. They don't seek validation. They simply endure and evolve. They have scars that the world will never see and strength the world will never understand. So the next time you feel unseen, remember that the absence of an audience doesn't mean the absence of purpose. The quiet seasons are where strength is forged. When no one is watching, that's when your real transformation begins. That's when you become powerful, not because people believe in you, but because you finally believe in yourself. Pain prepares you for purpose. It shapes what comfort cannot. Every scar you carry has a story. Every tear you've shed carries a lesson. And every heartbreak has carved a deeper understanding of who you are meant to become. Pain is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It refines, not destroys. It molds your soul into something stronger, something wiser, something capable of handling what life has ahead. Comfort keeps you where you are, but pain pushes you to where you're meant to be. It doesn't feel fair, but it is necessary. Think about it. Gold is not beautiful until it's been through fire. The heat doesn't destroy it, it purifies it. It burns away the impurities, leaving behind something valuable. Your pain is that fire. When life burns you, it's not trying to end you, it's trying to refine you. It's removing the weakness, the fear, the pride, the doubt that doesn't belong in the version of you that's destined to win. Look at any person who has achieved greatness, and behind their success, you'll always find a trail of pain. The person who lost their job but found their purpose. The person who was rejected but discovered their strength. The one who failed but refused to quit. Their story always starts with pain. The pain becomes the push. The heartbreak becomes the hunger. The disappointment becomes the discipline. Pain doesn't just break you. It builds you in ways comfort never could. When you're comfortable, you settle. You stop growing. You stop questioning. You stop reaching. But when life hurts, when everything falls apart, suddenly you start to move. You start to search, to stretch, to fight. Pain awakens the sleeping giant within you. It forces you to rise from the ashes of what you once thought was your end. Think of a muscle in your body. If you want it to grow, you have to tear it first. Every time you lift a weight, tiny fibers in that muscle break. It hurts, but when it heals, it becomes stronger, bigger, more capable. The same is true for your spirit. Pain tears you down, but only so you can rebuild stronger. Without that tearing, without that tension, you'd remain weak. Imagine a student preparing for a big exam. The late nights, the headaches, the stress, all of that is pain. But that pain prepares them to walk into the exam room with confidence. Without that struggle, there's no mastery. In life, pain is the study session for your purpose. It's preparing you to step into rooms you've never been in, to handle responsibilities you once prayed for. Pain humbles you. It reminds you that you're not in control of everything, and that's okay. It teaches you empathy because once you've suffered, you understand others better. You stop judging, you start listening, you start caring. The people who carry deep compassion are usually the ones who have been through deep pain. They've walked through darkness and now use their light to guide others. Sometimes pain removes the wrong people from your life. You think you're losing something valuable, but you're actually being freed from what was holding you back. Sometimes pain delays your plans, but that delay is protection. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank the pain for redirecting you. The rejection you faced was not the end. It was redirection towards something greater. You can't fulfill your purpose if you're not prepared for it, and pain is preparation. It stretches your patience, strengthens your faith, and sharpens your focus. It makes you more disciplined, more grateful, more resilient. You start to realize that not everything painful is bad, and not everything pleasant is good. Comfort feels good, but rarely grows you. Pain hurts, but always transforms you. Think of the butterfly. Before it spreads its wings, it struggles inside the cocoon. It pushes and pushes, fighting the resistance. If you tried to help it and cut the cocoon open, you'd kill it, because that struggle is what pumps strength into its wings. Without the pain of the cocoon, it would never fly. The same goes for you. The pressure, the resistance, the struggle, that's what's building your wings. When life hurts, it's easy to ask, why me? But maybe the better question is, what is this teaching me? Every painful experience holds a lesson, a hidden gift waiting to be discovered. When your heart breaks, maybe it's teaching you to love yourself. When you lose something, maybe it's teaching you what truly matters. When people walk away, maybe it's showing you how to stand on your own. There was a young man who dreamed of starting his own business. He saved money, worked hard, and poured his heart into his idea. But when he launched, it failed miserably. He lost everything, his savings, his confidence, his peace. He wanted to quit. But that failure forced him to learn, to grow, to adapt. The pain of losing everything became his greatest teacher. Years later, he built another business, stronger, wiser, unshakable. He said, my success didn't come from what I gained, it came from what I lost. That's the power of pain. It strips you down to what's essential. It exposes your limits so you can expand them. It reveals who you really are when everything comfortable is gone. Pain doesn't define you, it refines you. It's not there to destroy you, it's there to prepare you for something greater than you can imagine. When you've been through pain, you stop being afraid of it. You realize that it's temporary, that it passes, and that you are still standing. You learn to trust the process, to walk through the fire knowing that on the other side, you'll come out stronger. Pain teaches endurance. It teaches patience. It teaches faith in the unseen. So when life hurts, don't run from it. Sit with it, learn from it, grow through it. One day, you'll look back at the moments that almost broke you and realize they were the very moments that built you. The comfort you once craved could never have shaped the person you've become. Pain prepared you for this. It always does. Those who master silence will eventually command attention. Because silence is not weakness, it's control. Silence is not absence, it's awareness. It's the language of those who understand that not everything deserves a reaction, and not every noise deserves your energy. The world is loud. Everyone is talking, posting, shouting, trying to be seen, trying to be heard. But in that chaos, the ones who stay calm, who stay grounded, who move in silence, are the ones who truly stand out. Power doesn't always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly, and when it speaks, the whole room listens. Think about the person in a meeting who doesn't rush to speak first. Everyone else is eager to show off what they know, but that one quiet person sits back, observing, listening, reading the room. And when they finally speak, their words carry weight. Why? Because silence builds anticipation, it creates mystery, it commands presence. When you're always talking, people stop listening. But when you know when to be silent, your words become valuable, your voice becomes powerful. In life, those who master silence understand timing. They know when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when to let their actions make the noise. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing everything strategically. It's the calm before the storm, the pause before the breakthrough, the preparation before the reveal. It's the invisible phase where you're building yourself, developing in private, mastering your craft so deeply that when you finally step into the light, no one can ignore you. Think of an artist working in silence for months, creating something magnificent. No one knows what they're doing. No one sees their struggle. But when they finally unveil their work, the world stands in awe. That's what silence does. It builds suspense. It cultivates excellence behind the scenes. And when the time is right, it makes the world stop and pay attention. Silence is misunderstood because people fear being unseen. They think if they're quiet, they'll be forgotten. But silence doesn't mean you're invisible. It means you're becoming unshakable. When you learn to be silent, you stop reacting emotionally to everything around you. You start observing more than you speak. You start understanding people deeply, situations clearly, and yourself completely. Silence gives you clarity. It lets you hear the whispers of your intuition that noise often drowns out. Imagine a chess player. They don't shout while they play, they think. They analyze, they watch, they move strategically. That's how winners operate, silently, intelligently, patiently. When you're loud, you reveal your hand too early. When you're quiet, people never know your next move. Silence keeps your power intact. It's not about being mysterious to others. It's about being disciplined with yourself. Look at the strongest leaders in history, the ones who didn't need to boast or scream to prove who they were. Their silence carried authority. Their calmness created confidence. People followed them not because of how loud they were, but because of how centered they were. When everyone else panicked, they stayed composed. That's what mastery of silence does. It gives you control over yourself when the world loses control. In daily life, silence can change everything. When someone disrespects you and you choose silence over retaliation, that's power. When someone doubts you and you choose to prove them wrong through results, not words, that's power. When life throws chaos at you and you respond with calm, that's power. You no longer waste energy explaining yourself to people who aren't ready to understand. You no longer chase validation from those who never valued you. Silence becomes your strength, not your weakness. There's a story of a man who was constantly underestimated by everyone around him. People laughed at his dreams, mocked his ideas, ignored his efforts. Instead of arguing back, he chose silence. He worked in the shadows, improved himself quietly, kept building. And one day, when success found him, his silence became his loudest response. He didn't need to say a word. His results spoke volumes. Silence, when mastered, turns into an echo that the world cannot ignore. There is also wisdom in silence. People who talk less often understand more. They hear what others miss. They catch details that others overlook. They don't rush to fill the space with noise because they know silence is where real learning happens. When you're silent, you listen better, not just to others, but to life itself. You start to notice patterns, energies, truths hidden beneath words. Silence trains your mind to see what noise conceals. In relationships, silence can heal more than arguments ever could. When you stop reacting to negativity, you stop feeding it. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you reclaim your peace. Silence allows you to step back, breathe, and respond with wisdom instead of impulse. It protects your spirit. Those who master silence move differently. They don't compete, they create. They don't announce their every step. They let their results make the noise. They understand that silence confuses the envious and empowers the focused. While others waste time proving their worth, they spend time becoming worthy. Silence becomes their armor, their strategy, their secret weapon. In the digital age, where everyone is shouting to be seen, the one who remains silent, steady, and intentional becomes magnetic. People are drawn to mystery, to depth, to calmness in a world addicted to noise. That's why the silent ones always command attention eventually, because they're rare. Silence, when mastered, is not emptiness, it's elegance. It's the art of being still in a world that can't stop talking. Think about nature. The mountains don't speak, yet they command reverence. The ocean doesn't announce its power, yet it moves continents. Lightning doesn't warn before it strikes, it just flashes, and everything pauses. That's what true strength looks like: quiet, graceful, undeniable. So when you choose silence, you are not giving up your voice, you are giving your voice value. You're saving your energy for moments that matter. You're learning that every battle doesn't need a reaction, every insult doesn't need a defense, every doubt doesn't need a reply. Those who master silence understand that time reveals everything. The truth, the lies, the strength, the weakness. Silence gives time the space to speak on your behalf. The most powerful moments in life often happen in silence. When you realize who you are, when you decide to walk away, when you choose peace over pride, when you choose patience over panic. Those who master silence don't chase attention. They attract it effortlessly. Because while the world is busy making noise, they're busy making moves that will one day make the world stop and listen. Isolation is not the absence of people, it is the presence of preparation. There are seasons in life when you will find yourself alone, not because you are unworthy of company, but because your destiny demands your focus. Isolation is not punishment, it's positioning. It's the space where your spirit is sharpened, your mind is disciplined, and your heart is tested. Most people fear being alone because they think silence means emptiness. But isolation is not empty. It's full of lessons, revelations, and transformation. Think about a sculptor working on a masterpiece. They don't create it in a crowd or in noise. They withdraw, they focus, they chisel away every imperfection in silence. What looks like solitude to others is actually sacred preparation. Isolation is where ideas mature, where clarity forms, and where strength is built away from distractions. While the world rushes and competes for attention, isolation is where greatness takes its time to grow. There's a story of a young man who had a dream to build his own business. Everyone around him was busy chasing trends, partying, and trying to impress others. But he chose to step back. He stopped trying to fit in, stopped explaining himself, and started working in silence. People said he had changed. They said he had become distant. But he wasn't distant, he was developing. Years later, when his business took off and he became successful, the same people who questioned his isolation wanted to understand his secret. His secret was simple. He used isolation to prepare for manifestation. Isolation teaches you to depend on yourself, to trust your instincts, to listen to your own thoughts without the noise of opinions. When you are alone, you start to meet parts of yourself you've ignored for years. You begin to hear the voice of purpose whispering, "You were made for more." Isolation gives you time to listen to that voice, to nurture it, to act on it. It's the gym for your soul, the workshop of your future. In a world that glorifies being surrounded by people, isolation feels uncomfortable. We're trained to think that being alone means being unloved or unwanted. But isolation is not rejection. It's redirection. Sometimes life separates you from the crowd because you're not supposed to be like everyone else. While they're distracted by temporary pleasures, you're being refined for permanent purpose. Look at nature. When an eagle prepares to soar higher, it doesn't fly in flocks. It flies alone. It goes to the mountaintop, sheds old feathers, and waits in silence for new strength to grow. During that time, it's vulnerable, it's alone, but it's becoming unstoppable. Isolation is that mountain for you. It's where you shed old habits, old fears, old ways of thinking, and you build the wings that will carry you to a higher level of life. There's a power in solitude that most people never experience because they fear it. But the truth is, the more time you spend understanding yourself, the less dependent you become on others to define you. In isolation, you stop chasing validation. You realize you don't need constant attention to feel valuable. You start focusing on what really matters: growth, purpose, peace. When you learn to be okay with silence, you learn to be unstoppable in sound. Many great minds went through isolation before revelation. The inventor who locked himself in a room for months experimenting. The writer who disappeared to finish the book that would change millions of lives. The athlete who trained alone when no one believed in them. Isolation gives you a kind of hunger and focus that noise cannot provide. It takes away the distractions so that your energy is aimed at one direction: forward. Sometimes isolation hurts because it exposes your insecurities. When there's no one around to distract you, you're forced to face your fears. But that's the beauty of it. It confronts you with the truth. You start seeing what needs to change, what needs to grow, what needs to go. It's uncomfortable, but that's where the transformation happens. No growth happens without isolation, just as no seed grows without being buried first. Imagine a seed planted deep in the soil. It's dark, it's alone, it's buried under pressure, but it's not dead. It's developing, it's breaking, stretching, and preparing to rise. If the seed could talk, it might say, feel forgotten. But in reality, it's in its most important season, its season of isolation. When it finally breaks through the soil, everyone sees the flower, but no one appreciates the darkness it endured. That's exactly how life works. Isolation doesn't just prepare you for success, it protects you from destruction. Sometimes the reason you're alone is because you're not ready for the attention that comes with success. Life gives you solitude as a shield to build you quietly before it reveals you publicly. If you skip the season of isolation, you'll collapse under the weight of what you prayed for. During isolation, you start to create instead of consume. You stop wasting hours on comparison and start investing hours in construction. Building yourself, your craft, your future. The silence becomes your teacher. It teaches you discipline, patience, and emotional intelligence. You learn that not every message needs a reply, not every noise needs your energy, not every door needs to be knocked on. Isolation teaches you that peace is power. There was a woman who went through heartbreak and lost everything: her job, her friends, her confidence. For months, she lived quietly, away from everyone. Instead of rushing to fill the void, she sat with it. She read books, took walks, reflected, healed. It was painful, but in that silence, she rebuilt herself stronger than before. When she returned to the world, she was not the same person who left. Her isolation became her evolution. You can't find yourself in crowds. You can only find yourself in quiet. When you're surrounded by noise, you become an echo of others. When you're alone, you become the sound of your own destiny. That's why isolation is not the absence of people. It's the presence of purpose. It's not loneliness, it's alignment. It's not being forgotten, it's being formed. The moment you start embracing isolation, you stop fearing it. You start realizing that being alone is not a loss but a privilege. You get to focus on your growth without judgment, to prepare your mind for the battles ahead, to align your spirit with your mission. Isolation is not where life ends. It's where greatness begins. It's the hidden season that builds the strength for your public victory. When you can stand alone, you are ready to lead others. Because true leadership does not begin in a crowd. It begins in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when no one claps, when no one believes. Leadership is not about control, it's about conviction. And conviction is born in the moments of isolation when you must choose whether to follow the noise or listen to your inner voice. Standing alone is not easy. It's uncomfortable, it's heavy, and sometimes it feels unfair. But the truth is, the people who learn to stand alone are the ones who become the pillars others depend on. Think about every great leader you admire. They all had a moment where they had to walk alone. They had to make a choice that others didn't understand. Maybe it was quitting a job that looked perfect from the outside, walking away from a crowd that no longer aligned with their values, or taking a risk that everyone said would fail. That's the price of leadership. Doing what is right, not what is popular. When you can stand alone in truth, you earn the right to guide others out of confusion. In daily life, you will see it everywhere. Look at the person who wakes up at 5 a.m. to chase their dream while their friends are still asleep. That's leadership. Look at the woman who refuses to gossip even when her coworkers do, because she values peace more than approval. That's leadership. Look at the young man who decides to save money and invest while others spend recklessly because he sees a future they don't yet see. That's leadership. Leadership is not a title, it's a mindset. It's about having the courage to do what's necessary even when no one applauds you for it. Standing alone reveals your strength because it exposes what's real in you. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to borrow confidence. But when you're alone, you have to generate it. You have to motivate yourself, believe in yourself, and hold yourself accountable. That's where your character is formed. That's where your power is discovered. A person who has learned to stand alone cannot be manipulated because their validation doesn't come from others, it comes from within. Most people never reach their potential because they're afraid of being different. They fear losing approval more than they fear losing themselves. But real leaders understand that you cannot change the world if you're trying to fit into it. You must stand apart to stand above. When you stand alone, people will misunderstand you. They'll question you, they'll laugh at you, they'll call you arrogant. But what they call arrogance is often just confidence in disguise. What they call loneliness is often preparation for destiny. There's a young athlete who trains late at night, long after the stadium lights are turned off. His friends are at parties. His family is asleep, but he's out there running, sweating, pushing. He's not doing it for attention. He's doing it for alignment, aligning himself with his dream. Years later, when he becomes a champion, everyone will cheer, but they won't see the nights he stood alone with only his discipline to keep him company. That's the cost of greatness. That's what it means to lead. Standing alone also tests your faith. It's easy to believe when everything is working, but real faith is built when you stand in uncertainty and still move forward. Sometimes life will strip away your support system, not to break you, but to show you how strong you really are. When you can hold yourself together when no one else does, when you can keep moving when no one pushes you, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of person others look to for strength. Think about a candle in the dark. Even when it's alone, it still shines. It doesn't need another flame beside it to prove its purpose. That's what leadership is. Shining your light even when no one else does, because you know that one flame can ignite 1,000 others. When you stand alone, you become an example of what's possible. Your courage gives others permission to be courageous. Your integrity inspires others to rise higher. Sometimes standing alone means making painful choices. It means walking away from relationships that drain your peace. It means saying no to opportunities that don't align with your values. It means turning down shortcuts because you value growth over speed. People will not understand it, but they don't have to. Because leadership is not about being understood. It's about being consistent. You can't guide others if you're constantly seeking their approval. There will be days when loneliness feels unbearable, when you question your decisions, when you wonder if it's worth it. In those moments, remember this: every mountain climber stands alone at the top. The view, the victory, the vision, it all comes after the isolation. No one else can climb your mountain for you. They can cheer for you, they can support you, but the steps are yours alone. That's the weight of leadership and the beauty of it. In daily life, the best leaders are not the loudest. They're the ones who quietly do what needs to be done. The mother who sacrifices her comfort to raise her children with love, she's a leader. The teacher who stays after class to help a struggling student, that's leadership. The worker who refuses to compromise integrity, even when it costs him money, that's leadership. These people may never get public recognition, but they're the foundation that keeps the world strong. Leadership is not built in applause, but in adversity. It's when everything falls apart and you still choose to stand. It's when people leave and you still choose to believe. It's when you walk alone and still walk forward. When you can stand alone, it means you have conquered your greatest enemy, fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of judgment. Once you face that fear, nothing can hold you back. The world doesn't need more followers pretending to be leaders. It needs individuals who have the courage to stand for what's right, even if they stand alone. Because eventually, the one who stands alone today becomes the one others follow tomorrow. Your solitude becomes your strength. Your conviction becomes your compass. And your example becomes your influence. When you can stand alone, you no longer chase leadership. Leadership starts chasing you. Remember, life does not reward comfort, it rewards courage. The person who stands alone, who walks through storms while others seek shelter, who dares to dream when no one believes, is the person who will leave a legacy that cannot be erased. Every challenge you face, every door that closes, every moment of doubt is a stepping stone to greatness if you choose to see it that way. You were not placed on this earth to be ordinary, to blend in, or to wait for permission. You were made to rise, to break boundaries, to inspire even when no one is watching. The journey may be lonely, the nights may be long, the sacrifices may seem heavy, but these are the very things that will shape you into a person capable of greatness beyond imagination. Think about the countless individuals in history who were mocked, misunderstood, and underestimated. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he invented the light bulb. Nelson Mandela spent decades in prison before he led a nation to freedom. J.K. Rowling was rejected countless times before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. They all started alone. They all faced failures. They all endured pain that nobody could see, yet they chose to persist. Their solitude was not a curse. It was a crucible that forged their destiny. And just like them, your solitude, your struggles, your failures are not signs that you are weak. They are proof that you are being prepared for something monumental. Success is never accidental. It is never handed to those who wait for approval or validation. It is earned in silence, in persistence, in the moments when no one else is watching. When you are alone and the world doubts you, that is the exact moment to rise. Remember the words of Myles Munroe. The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life without purpose. Do not allow fear, judgment, or solitude to rob you of your purpose. Embrace your path, no matter how lonely it feels, because it is uniquely yours. The universe has entrusted you with a mission that only you can complete, and the obstacles along the way are simply tests of your determination and character. Consider the power of persistence. Every step you take, no matter how small, compounds over time. Every failure you endure teaches you lessons that no book, no mentor, and no shortcut can provide. Pain, rejection, and isolation are not enemies, they are teachers. When life pushes you down, you must push back harder. When doors close, you must find another way. When people doubt you, you must believe in yourself even louder. Remember Walt Disney, who was fired for lacking imagination before creating an empire of dreams, or Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team before becoming a legend. Their journeys were paved with rejection, pain, and solitude, but their perseverance became their power. Your vision is not for everyone to understand, and it never will be. The people who criticize, the people who laugh, the people who doubt are not the ones who hold your destiny. Your destiny is held by your faith, your courage, your discipline, and your relentless pursuit of growth. Stay focused on what you were created to accomplish. Remember, the world doesn't measure your potential by your comfort or convenience. It measures it by the strength you summon when everything around you says, give up. Greatness emerges when you choose to rise, when you choose to fight, when you refuse to allow circumstances to dictate your future. Embrace the power of resilience. It is resilience that turns failures into fuel and setbacks into setups for your success. Life will knock you down, but the greatest warriors in history are defined not by how hard they fall, but by how decisively they rise. Confucius said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Let every fall teach you humility, strength, and wisdom. Let every challenge build a foundation so unshakable that nothing and no one can derail you. You are stronger than you realize, more capable than you imagine, and closer to your breakthrough than you think. Courage is your companion in solitude. When fear whispers, you answer with action. When doubt threatens, you respond with faith. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward in spite of it. And every time you choose courage over comfort, every time you take a step alone while others stand still, you are building a momentum that will carry you to heights others only dream of. Remember, courage is contagious. The more you practice it, the more others will be inspired by it, and the more unstoppable you will become. The path you are walking may be lonely, but it is shaping you into a person capable of remarkable things. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of self-doubt is forging the steel of your character. Every time you choose to stand alone, you are choosing to honor your purpose, to honor your potential, to honor your destiny. Do not seek the approval of the crowd. Seek the alignment of your heart. Do not chase validation from others. Chase excellence within yourself. You are not born to follow, you are born to lead. Let your life be a testament to what is possible when someone refuses to quit. Let your story inspire those who doubt, those who are struggling, those who feel lost or invisible. Let them see that starting alone is not a weakness, failing alone is not a defeat, and winning alone is not a dream. It is a declaration of purpose realized. Remember the words of Les Brown, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Aim high, stay focused, and never allow the noise of the world to shake your commitment. Life is not a rehearsal, it is happening now. Every decision, every action, every choice matters. Embrace solitude, embrace struggle, embrace failure, because in doing so, you are preparing for victory. The crowd may leave, the critics may mock, and the obstacles may grow. But your vision, your resilience, your courage, and your faith will carry you to triumph. Stand firm in your journey. Walk boldly in your purpose. Rise relentlessly in your pursuit. And always remember, the world is watching the results of those who dared to stand alone. The victories of those who refused to surrender. The legacy of those who overcame every obstacle, defied every expectation, and transformed pain into power. Let your life be that story. A story of starting alone, enduring alone, and ultimately winning alone, leaving behind a trail of inspiration that echoes for generations.